Today I'm making one of my absolute favorite all-time sandwiches, my take on a classic Chicago Italian beef sandwich. Now, I'm doing this at home. I'm gonna make it on a smoker. It's not gonna be exactly the same, but it's gonna be very close and it's going to be delicious. The protein that I will be using today is this beautiful beef chuck roast. The classic Chicago Italian beef is made using roast beef and it's shaved super thin, simmered in a delicious jus. I'm using a chuck roast instead because it's affordable, plus it's really good on the smoker, which is what I'll be using. Let's get this thing started. Now, like I said before, this is not a classic or a very traditional way of making an Italian beef sandwich. It's my take on it. I know anytime that I post this video on Instagram or anywhere else, I always get comments that it's not authentic, it's not real. Never said it was. Again, it's kind of my take of making it. So let me show you how you can do this at home yourself. Here's our beautiful beef chuck roast. So this was, how much did this weigh? About 3.5 pounds. So this will easily make enough sandwiches to feed your whole family. And the prep on this is really easy. I'm gonna hit it with a little yellow mustard for the binder. So I'm almost treating it like a brisket or really any other piece of beef that I would put on the smoker. A little yellow mustard on both sides. You can use mustard, you can skip it, you can use hot sauce. Really whatever you like here will work. Now for my first seasoning, I'm going with my all-purpose rub. These are now available nationwide at all Ace Hardware stores and in the Chicagoland area at all 43 Mariano's locations, which is pretty freaking awesome. So I'm gonna go with a nice layer of my all-purpose rub. So this is salt, pepper, garlic, kind of a classic barbecue flavor profile, right? So I'm gonna season both sides pretty heavily. This is a big piece of meat, plus it's gonna smoke for a couple hours, so it can take all the seasoning. So again, both sides. Make sure you get the edges here as well. I'm telling you guys, this is my favorite, probably my favorite sandwich of all time. Especially living here outside Chicago, being raised in Chicago, I love Italian beef. This is pretty much good to go as is, but to really elevate the flavor, I'm also gonna hit it with some more coarse ground black pepper. This will give this chuck roast that nice peppery bite, plus it'll help the bark develop when it's on the smoker. So I'm just gonna go a nice little layer of coarse ground black pepper. Go on both sides here as well. Ooh, oh yeah. All right, there we go. Now this thing is ready. Now there are two parts to this cook. For the first one, this is going on the smoker, low and slow, to cook it most of the way through. And for the second part, I'm gonna put it in my Dutch oven with a few other ingredients to make the delicious jus and braise it until it basically falls apart. This is seasoned. I'm gonna let this hang out on the cutting board and we can go fire up the grill. For this cook, I'm gonna be using my Weber kettle. Let's get this thing fired up now. I'm gonna do a few things differently than I did in the past. So normally I like to use a chimney to start my charcoal. For this cook, I'm going to be using this little chimney or charcoal basket, and the reason for that is I'm cooking this low and slow, and this just helps the charcoal or keep the charcoal at a lower temperature so it doesn't get too hot. Fill this up. Got a couple outside of the basket, but that's fine, no big deal. Now to start this guy, I've got this little tumbleweed. I'm just gonna put this on one side here under one of these briquettes. I'm gonna light this up. Perfect. Now I'm gonna wait for that tumbleweed to burn and ignite a couple of these briquettes that are right by it. That's gonna help stabilize the temperature right between kind of 250 to 275, which is what I'm going for on this cook. And then we can get the chuck roast on and going. There's one other thing I'm gonna do. I'm gonna use this beautiful wood chunk on top of my coal. So this is gonna create some additional smoke while these briquettes are burning and just provide extra flavor to my chuck roast. Now you can do wood chunks or wood chips. Wood chips are kind of the small shaved pieces. I like using the wood chunks more because they create more smoke. Wood chips just kind of burn off right away. So wood chunk goes in. Now I can put my grate right on top. Here we go, just like this. And the grill's ready to go. So I'm gonna wait, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes or so for those briquettes to ignite. We'll put the charcoal or the chuck roast on and it will be good to go. All right, charcoal is looking nice. So let's get the chuck roast on. Oh yeah. Check this thing out. So we're sitting here for about 10 minutes, get nice and wet on the outside. So this is going on the indirect heat side of the grill. And as you can see, the few briquettes on this side where I had the starter got nicely edged over. So this is gonna cook for a couple hours and that fire will spread along the briquettes. Is gonna light that wood chunk, creating more smoke. Now, if you're making this at home and you don't have a grill or a smoker, or you wanna make it inside, instead of smoking it like I'm doing now, just fire up your stovetop, put a cast iron skillet on, and sear the chuck roast on both sides, right? Go a couple minutes on each side, get this beautiful crust, and then you can skip to the next part of this video where I go to the Dutch oven section and just pick it up from there. It won't have that nice smoky flavor, but it's still going to be delicious. But for this one, I'm gonna close the grill here. The bottom vents are fully open. I want maximum airflow going to my charcoal. These top vents are going to be just barely cracked open, and I'm gonna put the vents over the meat. As the charcoal burns, as that wood chunk lights on fire, that smoke is gonna travel over the meat and exit out the top, and I'm gonna leave it like this, untouched, for about 2 to 3 hours. We'll come back later and we'll see how it's looking. For the next step of my chuck roast cook, we're gonna finish it off in the Dutch oven. Even though it might be fully cooked temperature-wise, it's super tough. It's a really tough muscle, so we're gonna finish it in the Dutch oven with some liquids to get it super tender, shreddable, and delicious. Put this off to the side. First up, I've got my onion. So this is one full onion cut in half, and I'm just gonna cut this up like so. You just wanna be sure that all these pieces are roughly the same size. Doesn't have to be perfect. And this just goes right into our Dutch oven. Next up, I've got 4 or 5 cloves of garlic. You don't have to chop or mince these up. All I'm gonna do, just put them on the cutting board and just give it a smash with my knife, just to kind of break it up a little bit, start releasing those oils, and then just dump it into the Dutch oven. So again, easy and simple. This, by the way, will be on the website, grillinwiththat.com, that has all our recipes, all the measurements, all the directions. So if you guys ever want to look for stuff, head to the website and it will all be right there. So we've got our onions, we've got the garlic. Next up, I've got a whole jar of these pepperoncini peppers. Now these are kind of a mild pepper and they have the liquid, and I'm going with this whole container of the peppers and the liquid. So the peppers, we'll just give it some flavor, and that liquid will give it that nice kind of tanginess and zestiness in our broth or in the jus after it's done. If you can't find these locally, you can use banana peppers, pickled or jarred banana peppers, or pickled jalapenos. Those will be spicier, but pepperoncini peppers or banana peppers are your best bet for this recipe. That's pretty much it for the base. Now let's go back to the grill here, to our trusty kettle, and take a look. Bring this back here. Take a look at our chuck roast. So this has been on for, wow, for a little over 2 hours. And it is looking great. Nice color on the outside. You can see it's still super wet and moist on the outside. I'm gonna pick this guy up. I mean, this looks so good. Look at that. That is a beautiful, beautiful chuck roast. All right, let's go back here. I'm gonna put this whole thing in the Dutch oven, right on top of these onions and these peppers. Oh yeah, that's a big boy. Barely fitting in there, but that's fine. That looks good right there. All right, next up, we need liquid. So I'm using this low sodium beef broth. Any brand here will work. Just be sure you use the low sodium kind so it doesn't come out too salty. And I'm gonna go with 1 full carton here. All right, next up, a couple dashes of the trusty Worcestershire sauce. So this will give it that umami flavor, a little more zestiness, tanginess. And finally, some Italian seasoning. So this has all those herbs and spices that really brings this whole recipe to life. And I'm going with about a tablespoon or 2 of these, just right over the top. And our base and our chuck roast is prepped. It smells and looks so good. Now you have a couple different options when it comes to finishing this off. If you have the grill going, you can always put this on the grill outside and then just simmer or braise until the chuck roast is tender. This Dutch oven is pretty big and it doesn't fit on my kettle, so I'm gonna bring this inside and we'll finish it inside the house. In the oven she goes, and this is set for 300 degrees, and there's not really a specific time that I'm going for. I'm gonna cook this until the chuck roast is probe tender and shreddable. So it's probably gonna take between 2 to 3 hours, but I'll come back in 2 and we'll see how it's looking. Chuck roast is cooking away. I wanna show you guys what else we made. This was for lunch. This was this is a kimchi fried rice, and this is delicious. This might be my new favorite fried rice recipe. We're gonna have a short video on this and probably gonna see this before this long form video. The recipe will also be on the website, but this is so good. It's like 5 ingredients. It's kimchi, rice, a little Spam, some green onion. So good. Wow, this is lunch, and dinner is gonna be the Italian beef sandwiches. All right, let's take a look at this chuck roast. It's been in for about 3.5 hours. I think it should be done by now, but let me show you exactly how to check and what to look for to know that it's ready to go. It smells so good. Wow, look at that. Oh, smoky. You can smell the peppers, that Italian seasoning. Wow. Okay, so the way to check when this thing is ready, and that's how you know, is you take your fork and it should go in without resistance, like a hot knife into butter. See, just like that. If you're struggling or if you feel resistance, the fork going into the chuck roast, you just got to continue cooking for another 30 minutes and then just check again. But this is perfect. See, no resistance. Plus another way is if you insert your fork and you try to twist, and you can see this meat is starting to pull apart. So this is definitely done and ready. Now, before I start shredding it, just like with any other protein, you want to make sure you let it rest. So I'm going to cover this back up. I'm just going to leave it here on the stove for maybe 25-30 minutes. It's going to cool down a little bit, relax, and then we're going to shred it. All right, it is time. Check this thing out. It's been resting for about 30 minutes. I mean, oh, it smells so good. I mean, it's smoky, tangy. Wow. All right, so let's get to shredding now. Another question I get asked all the time is about the gloves that I wear. So when I'm handling hot meats, I have these fabric glove liners, and then just these cheap nitrile gloves to protect them from getting wet. So this works really well when you're handling hot meats. But anyways, all right, let's get right to it. Let's get a piece of this chuck roast. Oh, look at that. Look, it just pulls right apart. You can see this nice smoke ring. You can see the bark on the outside and the meat. I mean, look at this. It just falls apart. So what I like to do is just shred the meat and remove any of these undesirable pieces, like some of this stringy fat, and just put this off to the side. But here, look at this. Look at that. See, this is why you cook to tenderness, not really to temperature, especially with these chuck roasts, because they have a lot of connective tissue and all that needs to break down, and it needs to be fork tender, and you get this beautiful shredded delicious smoky meats. So just take your time and shred all this up. I mean, here, look at this nice little chunk. That's as good as it gets right there. And then when you shred it, it all goes back into the Dutch oven, into this jus, to absorb all these flavors. And then we're gonna use all that to make the sandwiches. It just falls right apart. Beef is shredded, so now let's make our sandwiches. Now there's two things that I will need to complete a delicious, or to make a delicious Italian beef sandwich. One is the bread. My go-to for these are these Toronto French rolls. It's another Chicago company, local company, who makes delicious bread, especially these French rolls, and that's what I like serving them on. It's just a really good bread, and I think a bread makes the sandwich. So nice little French rolls. These are already pre-cut. There are a couple different ways you can order an Italian beef sandwich in Chicago. You can get it dry, wet, dipped, meaning when they assemble the sandwich, they dunk the whole thing in the jus. Now, when I make them at home, it's kind of an in-between version. So I just take my bread, and as you can see, it's nice and soft, super fresh, and I just scoop out a nice portion of this meat, and it goes right on the sandwich. And as you can see, it's still really wet, and it's dripping with all the jus, and that bun is gonna soak all that up. So it's not completely drenched. It's not just gonna fall apart from the moisture, but you get this delicious meat, plenty of the jus, and that right there looks pretty good to me. But we are not done yet. There's one more topping, and that is called giardiniera right here. So this is a sandwich topper, a condiment, another Chicago staple. And as you can see, it's vegetables, it's jalapenos, there's carrots, it's spicy, oily, tangy, and it just goes so well on this sandwich. So this goes right on top. There's mild giardiniera, there's hot giardiniera, kind of whatever you prefer. But this, not only its flavor, but it also adds texture. It gives a nice crunch to your Italian beef sandwich. That, my friends, is my version of a classic Chicago Italian beef, but made on the smoker at home with a beautiful beef chuck roast. Oh yeah. Sandwich is assembled, so the last thing to do is to try it out. And I already know that this will be delicious. Wow. It is wet, it is dripping, it's everything that you want in an Italian beef sandwich. You get that delicious smoky flavor, you get the seasoning, the tanginess, that crunch from the giardiniera, little spice, that nice soft bread. If you've never had a Chicago Italian beef sandwich, oh my gosh, I'm dripping. You have to try this recipe. And even if you've had them, this is a great way of making it at home. Cooking it on the smoker gives it a unique flavor and taste compared to a regular Italian beef sandwich. And it's just so fun making it with a chuck roast. It's a super easy recipe, right? Just requires about a half a day to cook this whole thing, but It's super easy. Wow. If you're having a party, if you're tailgating, if you're going out somewhere, cook a whole pot of this, like this whole Dutch oven, bring it with you, and just make sandwiches wherever you go. Or if you have a party at your house, this will easily feed a whole crowd of people, and it's just so good. Anyways, that's it for this video. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Leave a comment below if you like what I'm doing. Hit that subscribe button, and we will see you next time. Wow. Wow. This is so good.